kids. Mark Miller here. Roy's with me. Roy, how you doing, buddy?
I am. Not too bad, my friend. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We're a little bit late today. We were running through some tech issues before we started. I think we're good. Just went through a lot of tests and checks, things like that. Oh, look at this. I got a hit. I think I remember when that happened. I ran into something. And I was like, why are you this something so short? Had a conversation for a while. You good over there, Roy?
I am.
Yeah.
I am indeed.
Okay. Hey, I just want to say, with all the stuff happening in the world, I'm not, I think, great at speeches. I don't really consider that to be my thing. Or even being able to say the right thing at the right moment. But I simply want to acknowledge the Black Lives Matter movement. I want to, say we see you, we hear you, we are in 100% support of you, and we are an ally. And I think that's it. Yesterday we didn't have the show because I wanted to give a voice to some of the African American folks on the Live Coders team and give them that opportunity to speak and not be in their way, not to try to take anything at all. I think if you are not a person of color and you want to be an ally, I think a great way to be an ally is to listen and to give space, to what needs to be said. So, and with that, yeah, and I'm also, holy shit, in the, excuse my language, I know this is supposed to be a family show, and I'll stop that, but holy cow, the actions taken at the White House in the last, 24 hours, Rory, absolutely tyrannical, sadistic, how can you describe it? The words are pretty tough. So I just wanted to get that out. That's not something that I think I can say. I'm speaking certainly for myself, but I'm sure folks in the tech industry, by and large, totally agree that this kind of racism, systemic racism, that's certainly pervasive in the United States. And in in other parts of the world is not okay.
Many places, unfortunately.
Yeah, will not be tolerated. I have a radical idea for solving that problem, by the way. It's called institutionalized. Yeah, people are going to go crazy when they hear this because it's radical. But it's called, and especially the name, it's going to make people really upset. But it's called institutionalized sterilization for racists is essentially what it is. And it's essentially, so just like institutionalized racism exists, where the cards are stacked against you, right? If you're a person of color, right? For example, real simple example, colleges for the longest time in the United States gave preference to any student that had a parent who also went to the college, right? Well, if colleges didn't allow black people in, guess who was totally deprived of that chance to go to that college, right? And it's a small thing, percentage-wise, though. It takes a hit, right, on you, right? So the idea of institutionalized sterilization for racists is essentially, I know this is crazy radical discussion right now, but it basically goes like this: is if you're involved in some sort of racist activity, right? Like, you're some sort of verifiably you're participant in a statistical institutionalized racism, then maybe there's a higher tax rate for you, right? So the higher tax rate is justified because we're paying for, you okay? You're paying for, to undo the damage and the harm that you're causing, for example, right? There might be stigma associated with it, like such as the woman with in the dog park in the United States who did this totally egregious thing, faked like she was in distress because she was aware of the institutionalized racism in the United States, and that if you made a call saying an African American is threatening me, then the police are more likely to come and that African American's life is more likely to be in danger. And so this what happened to her is Twitter outs her and she gets fired, right? So if these things happen, right, and it's now harder for you to find a suitable mate. It's now harder for you to get a job, right? That sort of thing. Then what's happening is you're applying pressure in what I would call the right direction, right? And that over time, then the likelihood that you'll procreate and create more folks who are like that is low. So that's kind of my take on this. Is it's a really hard response back, a hard push back, using essentially the same techniques that institutionalized racism does. Anyway, that's my crazy take for today. And with that, let's get out of this full screen mode. We'll get back into your, like, instead of having me right up there in your face, we're coming down over here. We're going to work on performance today. That's what we're going to focus on.
Okay.
I actually had, so on Friday, if I'm recalling the dates, on Friday's show, you weren't here, Rory. We were going down the path of what we call the crazy idea.
Oh, that's right. I remember you're suggesting the crazy idea, and us deciding collectively, you, me, and the chat room, that actually the really crazy idea didn't seem maybe quite so crazy.
It didn't seem so bad. The problem is, so the idea was, hey, you know what? We've got raw images. You're the latest crazy idea. Hey, Jetsam, welcome. Yeah, let's get some music going in here. So it goes like this. We got these raw images that we're loading off of disk. We want to hue shift them. We want to change their color. And the reason we want to change their color is because we don't want everything looking the same all over the place. We want to give a sense that we can reuse assets. That was kind of the idea. And at first it was as we were starting to build it and use the technology of hue shifting, we were loving it. But it wasn't until like months later we realized that the hue shift was a real performance hit, especially if we were having about 10 or 12 or more happening every frame.
Yeah.
That was causing a problem. I'm not liking this music. I'm going to change, I'm going to switch it to funk, see what happens.
The other problem, of course, with the lack of hue shift is that you wouldn't have a lot of distinguishing factors, and without the hue shift, the theory was that we might just have to go off and create a red version of things, a green version of things, a blue version of things, in order to give that spread. So we needed a way sort of halfway between, because we want the variety of assets, but we don't want to have to do it dynamically for every frame. That seems like what was killing us.
Yeah.
And so there was this sort of middle ground idea of caching the results of that first attempt.
Yes, because once we did the hue shifting, then theoretically copying the other pieces over for the remaining of the frames should have been fast. That's what I thought was the case. Now, as we approached getting the architecture of this working, we ran into some problems that we did not expect. And it was right in this space here. So in creating these dynamic images, we ran into what I would describe as a huge perf hit. And I did not investigate it, but we're talking on the order of about 10 seconds was just frozen.
Wow.
And
yes, huge is a good adjective for that.
It did not make sense. I have a couple ideas. Maybe because I was using a single huge canvas. I don't know if you were. I think you were here when we were like creating individual canvases, and that wasn't feeling right. Wasn't working. There was some problem with that. Pudding.
Because the question is how to do the initial creation of the dynamic images. We're kind of going for, iteration 1, and there may be 20, 30, 50 frames in the thing, and we need to create the blue version, for example, of what our source is. We need to put that in a cache, and then we can get it out of the cache quicker in order to use it. But what you're saying is that it's that generation phase, that attempt to make these frames.
Yep.
We did have suggestions of one big canvas. We had suggestions of lots of small canvases. And you're right. I think you were either in the midst of or just about to create the lots of small canvases when I unfortunately had to disappear.
Yeah. This is the other piece right here. So basically, there are two things that we saw on Friday that were a little bit scary. One is there's this huge perforate hit, which was unexplained. It was ultimately unexplained and uninvestigated. The other piece was, though, is that once it got in, we saw it drying, it was working. Perf did not seem to improve. It didn't look like our frame per second was jumping up substantially. And again, I'm like, what? Is it because of the huge canvas? I didn't get that at all. And it could have been that we were only testing with maybe two filters, and we really needed to throw when we needed to throw more.
Yeah, so under that theory, the issue is suggesting that the hue shifting would not necessarily have been so draining under those conditions, and you needed to test under a circumstance where it was really bad in order to then see the sort of the rebound back to sensible perf.
Yeah, but guess what happened? I saw both of these things. By the way, I'm watching Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah,
I am.
There's a family-friendly show.
It's not bad. It's okay. Finally, Game of Thrones. I want to go the wall. And I just want to get a picture of that thing. Here we go. I don't know. It's something like this. Come on.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what I kind of saw. That's kind of what I felt I was facing. Is, this kind of thing. When that happened, I had an emotional reaction to both of these things. Because I was like, how much work is this going to take to break through? And why this hit was so, the 10-second thing was so unexplained, didn't make sense. I think I did try to do a perf attack on it, but ultimately perf attack wasn't showing me anything that led to I understand what's going on.
So on the particular thing that you were attempting to render, the thing, well, I suppose the thing is a little bit hard to narrow down, because I'm guessing you're doing your experimentation using the sort of live mechanics that we have. So there's a lot of different things going on, which are all all using this technique as opposed to their older technique. But I was wondering, did you determine which of the parts of this were effectively taking the time?
For the huge perf hit?
Yeah.
No. The problem was it didn't look different from what we already saw when we were drilling in, and I think I feel like I ended the show on that. Is what I feel like happened.
Okay.
So I was like, ugh. I think on Sunday I tried a second approach, which was. So anyway, this crazy idea. Hold on. So this basically, I commented out this code and we backed away. I backed away, which sometimes is right. That's kind of a human reaction, right? To hold on a sec. I'm just going to create a nice big. Whoops! I want to do this one. Change the outline to that. Do this. Oh wow, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to get not quite what I wanted. Union. I know sometimes I do this on the show. Everybody's like, what is Mark doing? But ultimately, it gets me to a visual that I want, which is, here's my visual I want, and the ability to zoom that up. So basically, I'm going to do this right here. So I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this, and we're going to mark these right here. Right now, we've backed away from this. Goals today, we can, well, let's do this. And all right, so these two things, crazy idea, we're backing away from that. Brute force attack on memory. I did this on Sunday. And as expected, incredible perf gain, especially in large rolls. Absolutely. Do this in a few places like Necrotic Force, Top Cloud for fire. Yep, I did it for the Top Cloud and the fire. Huge hit on memory. Absolutely. We're going to need to create huge shifts on our assets on disk advanced. That's been done. Might hit other problems with limits of memory use. Yeah, on Sunday I got a sense that this wasn't going to work because I started seeing weird problems where the canvas was still on screen and cut and rotated. Things were in the wrong place, and I was just like holding my head in my hands. Later, when I ran it standalone, I looked at console log and I saw that there were errors, and the exceptions, the errors were leading to that. We might see some of those today because of some work that was done. So we might see those, but ultimately, I'm now pretty confident that I've not hit. There's no huge hit on memory. In fact, before when we saw and backed out of all the assets in our drone game, Rory, remember that happened like months and months ago, maybe a year ago. I'm convinced now that that was also not actually what we thought it was. That it was probably more likely to be errors in appearing in the console log. Might take longer to load. Yeah, it does. So basically, all of this is going on here, but the good news is it works as expected, right? It wasn't like we were surprised. There were no surprises in this space right here. I'm just making a little checkbox here. That. Let's take both of those. Let's do this. Do that. Make it green. I don't like that green. I like that instead. So there we go. That one, the brute force attack on memory, is working.
Okay.
It's not completely done. I think there's still opportunities for it, but it appears to be working. Dynamic throttling. There's still things that we can do here. For example, on die rolls, I just want to say before and after die rolls. I'm just going to write that down. I'm noticing a perf issue here on my machine, by the way. Just in typing in here, what's my perf?
Yeah.
What's my CPU? My CPU is not high. Is my GPU impacting the perf at which I can type in? I'm just holding down.
That seems.
Yeah, I'm holding down the key, and it's kind of like chugging to catch up. I'm holding down just the letter S here. Yeah, that's not good. Let's go into.
It should not be needing a GPU for typing.
I know. Let's see what happens here. S. It's going a little faster there. One more time in here. S. Yeah, it's chunk. See it? I don't know if you can see this or not, Rory, but it's kind of, it bursts and then slows. Bursts and slows. Whereas here it seems more consistent. Hold it down. Yeah, that's running pretty the same speed. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not sure if you can see that across the stream or not. So interesting. That's noted. Also, I'm noticing it with the coins around. The coins look like they're at about 12 frames per second, which is lower than what we're expecting.
Yep.
Now, in preparation for today's show, I added the ability to enable filters. And if enabled, well, the enable filters used to say enable hue shift. So it's the same as before, I just give it a better name. Okay. But I also gave these max filters on roll, max filters on die cleanup, and max filters on windup. Is what I have. Now I'm not using this yet, and I'm not using this yet, but I am using this, I think. Did I write code for that? I think I did. So on the die cleanup, so let's start to stress test this.
Merkin Bushwhacker.
For my player, I've got just a roll called Check Wild Magic, and every time I roll, it throws more die out, is what it does. So you remember this. Now, couple things. This is using this roll here is probably let's bring up the frame rate. See what our frame rate is. So low. Why
Not
is
great.
it so low? Yeah, I'm not happy about that. It's almost like feeling like a restart of my machine. What is going on? Well, I guess we're here.
100% GPU.
Yeah.
59 when you're lucky.
Yeah, this guy, yeah, we're streaming here.
I mean, you got to ask, what level of frames, why have we not got higher frames per second on the dice layer when the dice aren't even rolling?
When the dice aren't rolling, we drop it down. Are you talking about, oh, that.
Well, I'm just saying it's
on.
as low as 9 frames it says we're getting.
Hold on, this may be me. Let's do this a second. Let's drop these. Let's drop dice overlay. Let's put dice overlay at 60 and just see what it can get to. So we're gonna go back over here again. Check Wild Magic again. Yeah, it's low. I'm telling it to be up here at 55, 60. The others are down. Let's turn off the filtering. These filters shouldn't even make a difference though, because on the die roll there should be nothing there that is changing color.
And you see now the dice themselves are gone, but the dice layer is still saying you're only getting 8 to 10 frames a second.
Yeah.
There's nothing actually happening. So the other layers, or indeed other parts of your machine, are pushing so hard up against that even though you're trying to do nothing with it, it's still only doing nothing at that many frames a second.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking about, Rory?
What's that then?
I know this is, don't you have your dice layer FPS limit to send? You said set to 10, says Jetsam. I feel like I didn't quite say that. I feel like I thought it, but didn't say it. Yeah, Jetsam says, don't you have your dice layer FPS limit set to 10? We do. I'm actually thinking, Rory, that I want to reboot my machine. That's what I'm thinking I want to do. Because I had some, I ran and shut down some stuff before I started. And I am suspecting that a reboot may significantly change this. Unfortunately, that's like a bit of a pause in the show. So my apologies to everybody who wants to see this going. But I think that's what I'm going to do. Because I want to see, because I'm suspecting that that's going to go easily to 20. It's going to double. And we kind of need it to be higher to be able to test whether things are working or not. We need it in a better range here for these things. And right now it's too slow to really be able to tell. That's what I think. So let me start shutting stuff down, and I'll be back with you in yeah, it's like it's 6 frames per second. Shut this down. I'm just gonna start shutting things down. I guess there's a chance that as I shut things down that something's gonna be like, oh, me, and it'll go back up. But yeah, I think we're. I got the Skype call with Rory. I'll stay in line with you, Rory. You can text everybody in the chat room, let them know how things are going. I do have this open, this tab open. So yeah, we've gained like 1 frame per second here.
Yeah, it's not a huge amount, is it?
Yeah, it's pretty much all here. Desktop window manager. Although what's interesting is one of these, this one had been outside of OBS and then it came back in here. I'm not sure what that means. And disconnecting Mr. Announcer Bot. Disconnecting this guy right here. And I think I'm left with, what else is running? Just my chat window of which I'm closing now.
Now, Mark, there's just one other thing perhaps to ask a question of. As you decide to reboot your machine, is it going to apply a whole bunch of updates? Or are you up to date in that sense?
That's a great question. This is why you're
that could slow things down.
It's not. It just says a restart. I got a clean restart.
Okay.
But yeah, look at that. 7 frames a second. The only thing running right now is OBS. That's the only thing running. It's like at
OBS
12.
transmitting coins, yourself, Fred, and a whole bunch of black in the background.
And there's no dice essentially on there. No dice, at least that we can see. All right, kids, sorry about this. I'm going to stop streaming, restarting, and I should be back in I think about 5 minutes, and we'll take a look at what that frame rate looks like.